our freshman year, kind of going into our sophomore year, is when things like we started to get pretty serious about it, about what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, and being specific about it, talking in detail about here's how it's going to happen. And speeding up into sophomore year, essentially, that's when the label of ATT kind of came into play.
Right.
With that.
Whole sophomore year.
Yeah, it's that sophomore year. But essentially, it was around. ATT was around from day one.
Right.
The complete origins of it started in middle school, 6th grade, from the time that we met.
Mm-hmm.
And ATT it's about relationships and holding yourself to those standards, and that's when it started. But it got its label fall of sophomore year when that one song came out.
Well, I think, it happened. Right, it happened when the Us song came out at the top. But before that, I think I had my breakout year.
The first game of the year, honestly, your first game sophomore year was like, okay, like I knew this was gonna happen, but like this is the day that it happened, essentially against Hoover.
Right.
When you had like 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes or something crazy.
Yeah, three pick sixes and a half or whatever. So national record.
Punt return.
I had a punt return that I ended up getting called back, and that was like really when more people, or people outside of myself, I feel like,
that was the first time,
or immediate friends, like saw me do something special,
big, like on a bigger scene.
Yeah.
And that was just still a varsity high school football game, but that was the first time that Lazard was in print.
Right.
And later after that, the article, and like it was like the front page of the sports page, and you were a sophomore. It was about you breaking whatever record you broke, 3 touchdowns and 3 pick sixes in 1/2 was a national record. And you were like catching a football, like posing like you were catching a football, and
Coach Anderson's office from the fat head.
Right, yeah. And you're like holding up the triangle.
Right.
And then around that same time, that song came out. Lyrics, you're saying at the top, it's just us.
Yeah.
And we already kind of been doing the triangle, and it kind of just became a thing at that point. Obviously, it's kind of evolved a little bit since then, but the triangle at the top, it kind of just made sense, like you're at the peak of the triangle. And that's how we carry ourselves. I mean, it could be viewed as arrogant, it could be viewed as cocky, but if you really knew the roots of it all, it's really just a belief in yourself, a belief in each other.
Just a belief in that you can be the best you today.
Exactly. And it was a daily battle to hold yourself to that standard.
Yeah. And
it couldn't have been done alone.
Yeah, I think battle is a great word because it's not easy, It's not something that you can just wake up and everyone's able to do it, I think it's something that takes a lot of discipline, a lot of commitment and sacrifice on multiple levels, long-term, short-term, whatever it may be, and being able to adjust and adapt to anything that really life hits you with.
But even like when you say sacrifice too, like if I think back to the stuff that I did back then, like what I did when I came home from school, like a lot of times missing my homework because I had other more important priorities but from the everyday person or just a random person, if they saw how I operated back then but didn't know what was going on like internally, I'm sure people could say the same thing about you. It seemed like why are you doing that? Like why is it worth, like why are you putting in that much time?
Right.
Like why are you missing this? Like why is this lacking for this? Doesn't even matter. Like of course
they're putting you in a box essentially and not thinking that you could get outside of that box.
But when you speak on like sacrifices though, and like you think about all the things that you sacrificed back then, you continue to sacrifice today, relationships, time, friends, experiences, like you name it, but I wouldn't even label that a sacrifice in my opinion, because the vision that I had for myself and the vision that you had for yourself, like it doesn't feel like a sacrifice when that's what you're meant to do.
Right.
It doesn't feel like that's your life. That's what you embody. So the little things that other people might consider like sacrifices, it's just a part of who you are and what you do. So it doesn't even feel like a sacrifice at that point, in my opinion.